Right, Pasadena and heroes everywhere. It is I, your friendly neighborhood Rabbi John Carrier, and in today's Rabbi Chat, we are going to talk about the strange places we learn the truth from. And I think this week's Parsha has a story that takes the cake, but I'd love to hear what are some strange places, strange persons, strange sources that you've heard truth from. Share that with me, and I'll share a little Torah with you right after this brief musical interlude. Stick around. Alrighty, everybody, it's nice to see you. Maybe you should see me. Fair is fair, and there I am. Welcome to Rabbi Chat, brought to you by Pasadena Jewish Temple and Center. I'm your friendly neighborhood Rabbi John Carrier, and I'm delighted to learn a little bit of Torah with you today. But first, I want to ask you a question. What's the strangest place you have ever heard truth from? I will say, within my lifetime, truth comes from a widening and narrowing source of places. Just when for a proxy for the truth, and I know it's a proxy. I'm just thinking about news. Like, where do I get my news from? Where do I get my information from? And I know within my lifetime, it's gone from 3 television networks and whatever radio NPR station my parents were listening to. Yes, I'm a kid of NPR listeners. Don't hold it against me. Gone from a handful of radio stations, 3 TV networks, to 3 Brazilian or 3 Brazilian TV, no, 3 bajillion TV networks, and then back down to like 1 or 2, in the sense that with the explosion of broadcasting venues has also notched down this targeted appeal to people sharing news by let's say, particular political biases across the political spectrum. And so we increasingly get our news from singular sources that confirm our biases. And, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to listen to people whose opinion you share. I will say you learn a lot more by listening to people's opinions you don't share. And but it's a function of increasing polarization in the United States of America, if not worldwide. I think we didn't invent polarization, but we may have perfected it. So I'll say we hear more information from fewer and fewer sources. Heard a saying a couple of years ago. There's no news in the truth, and there's no truth in the news. So we'll set that aside for a second. I am a recovering journalism major. I do believe in getting information and deriving truth from that information in a portfolio of other sources that we can evaluate. But I'll say we increasingly get what we perceive as our truth from fewer and fewer sources, perhaps, and that is by design. All the more so, we are challenged to hear truth from places we didn't expect it. Having a conversation with a person that we normally wouldn't talk to, really giving ear to the member of a family, the member of your family, the member of a family. Who else's family would you be hanging out with, at least today? Hearing the perspective of somebody who you have a relationship with, but has a completely different view on the world. Sometimes we get the truth just by turning on the radio one day and hearing a story that we might have missed, but we really needed to hear. What's the strangest place you've ever heard the truth from? The strangest person, or let's say the least expected person. Strange people you want to hang out with, that's your business. Maybe you learn truth from your dog. I've certainly learned some truth from my dog. Just a minute ago, I was lying on the floor, and I'm like, this is really cool and comfortable. Now I see why the dog does it. This is like the coolest part of the house right now. But I had to get out because she was biting me. What are some strange places you've heard the truth from? I'm dying to know, and really delighted to learn a little bit of Torah with you today. Let's see who's in the multi-chat. I see Britton S. is here. Hello, says Britton. Kay Dixie says hello from the great Pacific Northwest. Tammy Lynn Garrison says hello from central Pennsylvania. And Kay Dixie shares, heard a truth from a homeless person who said, God follows me everywhere I go. Right? These people just kind of enter your life and leave your life, and you're not expecting to learn from them necessarily, and kaboom, it happens. Natalie Serrata says, Shalom, y'all. She's speaking my language. And so with that, I want to share a little bit of Torah with you today, just a scooch. As you know, we are in a maybe you don't. As is true. I'll stop now. As is a thing. We have a double portion this week. It is Chukat and Balak. Just by the wiles of the Hebrew calendar, we get two Torah portions smushed together. Chukat we talked about on Tuesday, and Balak we're talking about today. And the thing about Balak is it starts with Balak, because it's sort of the first distinctive word. It's this dude's name. He's the king of Moab. But the story mostly revolves around the adventures of a guy named Balaam. Or I know in some of my Christian friends call him Balaam. Maybe that's the Southern Baptist Texas way of saying it. But Balaam, or Balaam, is, let's say, a bit of a spiritual hitman, at least as far as Balak needs him. So what Balak does, Balak sees this mass of people, that's us, this mass of people who are moving through the wilderness, and we go to one kingdom, we say, hey, can we just pass through? We'll stick to the roads, we'll bring our own water, anything we take provision-wise, we'll totally pay for. And they're like, no, phooey, go away, and sometimes we'll attack you. And then, whenever that happened, then God would help us fight, and then we'd win. And so all these kingdoms, one by one, when they want to scrap with us, are having unfortunate consequences. So we get to the edge of Moab, and the king of Moab, Balak, calls out the guy, the spiritual hitman, if you will, the guy with the most mojo in his reputation, who's Balaam. And he says, Balaam, you got a rep. Whoever you bless is truly blessed, and whoever you curse is truly cursed. So I would like you to come to Moab and look at this people that's on my border and curse them for me, okay? And here's a bunch of money. And so Balaam looks at the money and says, let me sleep on it. And during his sleep, God comes to him in a vision. God says, no, these are mine. You can't touch them. Don't curse them. Just leave it alone. And so Balak, who can't take no for an answer on this score, sends more money and more distinguished emissaries to see if he could sway Balaam's opinion. And Balaam says, well, you know what? Even if you gave me your whole house full of silver and gold, if God says I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't do this. So, but I tell you what, I'm going to sleep on it, and we'll see if I have a dream about this. So he sleeps on it. He does have a dream, and God says, you know what? I'm going to let you make this decision, right? If you think you're going around cursing people, you better mess with somebody else. But you do you, okay? If you want to get up and go with them, go with them. So Balaam says, okay, I like money. And he gets up and he goes with these distinguished officials. And he says to them, he's like, look, I'm going to go with you. But if God says, don't curse these people, I'm not going to curse these people, right? Because then my mojo won't be effective. And I might die. So I'm going to go do this. But listen, like, just so you know, this is not a 100% guarantee and certainly not a money-back guarantee. So he goes with him, and then what happens is he saddles up his donkey, and this agent of the Lord, this angel, comes down and stands in his path, sword drawn. Right? As angels have, if you don't like swords, you certainly don't like angel swords coming at you. So Balaam gets on his donkey. He's riding down the path. This angel appears, but as everyone knows, only donkeys can see angels. That's in the rules. I didn't make that up. So the donkey sees the angel and stops, because donkeys, like most of us, don't want to die. And so, but for some reason, Balaam can't see this angel. All he knows is he has a stalled out donkey, and he starts hitting the donkey. And this is really unfortunate. I think PETA should get involved in this. He starts hitting the donkey, and so the donkey, gets up, but then moves over and pins Balaam against a wall. He moves over. He doesn't want to go because the angel's still there, and he's spinning the sword around. And Balaam just keeps hitting the donkey. He's like, come on, what's going on here? This is a lot of money at stake. And and then it says the scales fall from Balaam's eyes, and but first, what happens is the donkey, he keeps hitting the donkey. The donkey says, "Hey, buddy, I've been your donkey like my whole life. Have I ever steered you wrong?" And what Balaam says is, "Oh my goodness, a talking donkey." No, that's not what he says. What he says is, "I don't care." It just hits the donkey. Let's go. Then the scales fall from his eyes, and he can see the angel and the angel's sword, and he realizes that this whole time the donkey has been telling him the truth. And he says to the angel, like, "Look, I know that God doesn't feel great about this mission that I'm on, but God did give me permission to go if I saw fit." And so the angel says, "Fine. This task is loathsome for me. I'm better than going around cutting down magicians who are mean to donkeys, like donkey abusing magicians. Who needs that trouble?" And the angel leaves. And so I'll cut to the chase, and then we'll come back. Balaam goes, and he gets to the place where Balak asks him to curse the people, and he doesn't. Right? He does the same drill. He asks Balak to set up some sacrifices. Of course, you need to sacrifice 7 bulls and goats in order to get a good cursing. I didn't know that, but now I do. And he says, "I'm going to go sleep in my tent, and I'm going to come back, and I'm going to say what God tells me to say." And he comes back, and he blesses our people. He says, what a great people this is, and woe betide those who oppose them. And Balak is nonplussed, to say the least. And he's like, "What? I hired you to curse them, and you bless them. What's up? And maybe if I take you over here, and you can only see like a part of them, and like not even the nice part, like the latrines, like the worst part of their camp. Maybe there you'll curse them." And Balaam says, "All right, let's go give it a try." And he looks from a different place. It's sort of the hindmost of their camp, which is probably not the nicest part. And he, even looking at the worst of us, he can't curse our people. And then he does it again, but this time he didn't even consult God. For the last time, he just knows that we are worthy of blessing, and those who are on the side of blessing us are on the right side. So he blesses us a third time. And there's a number of lessons I draw from this, but I want to go back to the talking donkey thing. The reason that this story is so compelling to me personally is that a lot of you don't know this. My father was a preacher. And not a Jewish one. He was a pastor of a church until he was about in his 30s and decided, you know what, this isn't for me. I've told that story elsewhere as to why. But he decided to take a different career path. I, on the other hand, in my early 30s, switched from a financial analyst to a preacher, or at least a rabbinical student at that time. But when I decided to go to seminary, my father and I connected in a way that, in my great shame, we had never connected before. Like, once I was in seminary, we just talked about Bible stories all the time, right? Because he had studied them seriously. Now I was studying them seriously. Turns out, after I graduated, mostly what we talk about is board politics, which he also knew as a pastor and as a college administrator. And so now we have that in common. So my Torah study has actually brought me in closer to my non-Jewish father. But what he said was, when he was a young pastor, his favorite sermon that he ever gave was on Parashat Balak. Now, this is not what they called it. This was he called it the story of Balaam's ass. Can I say that? Is this a family show? The story of the donkey that Balaam or Balaam was riding on. And he shared with his people there in Central Texas at the time, you don't know where you are going to hear the truth from. You should be open to it. And that particular sentiment I always come back to every time we read this parsha. Especially, and I hate this whole like now more than ever line that people are using to sell soap and automobiles, but I'll say especially now, where I do believe we are increasingly consumers of media, perhaps. There's more time at home. There's less time, going about our business. We're getting more and more of our information about the world outside whatever bubble we are keeping And we are less in conversation with close friends, trusted advisors, mentors, colleagues, henchmen, I don't know, you do you, filtering this information and having conversations about it and trying to discern the truth. So we are gravitating toward media that confirm our biases. That's my opinion. This is why I stopped reading Facebook as much as I do. I mean, now I get my news mostly from two sources: The New Yorker and The Economist, print editions. Sorry, trees. Because I feel like that gives me a broad basis. Some of it's biased here and some of it's biased over there, but I feel like that gives me a broad basis and some, at least from The Economist, some dispassionate analysis as to what's going on in the world. But it's also critical, I think, that we stay in conversation here on social media as we're getting together. And maybe not spending, I used to spend just hours scrolling through Facebook looking for news headlines that confirmed my deepest anxieties and spite and those kinds of things, and share them around and said, oh, look, I thought this terrible thing. Now this newspaper says this terrible thing. So you should all read about it and be polluted thereby. What I have striven for is getting less biased sources of news, and also discerning more truth in conversations with people I disagree with, or people maybe I don't disagree with them, but we have very different frames of reference. And so this is what I encourage you to do. Take a look at where you're getting your truth from. Is it truth that largely confirms your own suspicions? Is it truth that challenges you in your assumptions? If nothing else, I think we're under a period of massive question summoning, massive assumption questioning. And as one of my teachers, Rabbi Brad Hirschfield, said, if you only study the Torah that you agree with, you're not actually learning any Torah. So my charge to you is that you seek out conversations, either with people who you know disagree with you or people whose world you don't know, and try to understand where they're coming from, try to understand how they respond to these headlines, because as this poor donkey shows us, you may not know where the truth is coming from. It may save your life. So thank you for learning this Torah with me. Natalie Sirota says, I always tell my kids that we can learn from everyone, even those in opposition, if nothing else, to solidify and defend our position on a topic. I think one trope that I'm trying to adopt lately, not just Torah trope, is this quote by Sir Francis Bacon that says, reading makes a full person, writing makes an exact person, and conference makes a ready person, right? And so trying to absorb as much information as I can, but then also digest and put it out into the world through these live streams, through largely these days emails that are right to the congregation, but want to do more writing on that score soon. But I think it's important to stay in conversation because that keeps us sharp, but it also keeps us open to maybe some truths that we're not getting through our selection of reading. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. Really appreciate everybody learning Torah with me today. I'll hang out for a couple minutes in case anybody has some questions. You can ask me anything here. And maybe I'm a strange person you'll get some truth from today. Or maybe you'll share something with me. I just want to re-ask the question, what's the strangest place you've ever gotten a bit of truth from? And if you don't catch us on the live stream, if you're watching us later, feel free to throw that into the chat. You can chat with us on Twitch. You can chat with us on Facebook. You can chat with us on YouTube. And even if you're watching a recording later, you put those thoughts, questions, answers into the chat, and we will see them and get back to you tout de suite. I don't speak French, but I thought I would try it. It's not too bad. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close up. Thank you, everybody, for doing this learning with me today. One more thing. If any of you are watching our PJTC live streaming services, we're live streaming every Friday at 7:30 p.m., every Saturday morning at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. Just want to be clear about that. If you're watching those somewhat regularly, you are going to notice some irregularities. We're changing things up a little bit this Shabbat, and you'll hear more about that coming from the congregation soon. Cantor Ruth and I are preparing a message for you as to exactly why we're doing what we're doing and exactly what you can expect out of it. So take a look at that. But for now, I just want you to know that we're doing this because we believe it's the right thing to do, and we would really love your feedback about it. So if you're accustomed to watching our services, we want to warn you that it's going to be a little bit different this week. That is by design, and we are dying to hear what you think about it. If you haven't been watching our live streaming services, I highly recommend you check it out. And you don't have to be a PJTC member. You don't have to be signed into our email list. All you have to do is go to this wherever you're watching this right now, pretty much. We're not on Twitch, but we are on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. So like the PJTC Facebook page that you might be watching this on right now, and go check it out at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time this Friday, and then you can see our service. Or if you prefer YouTube, you can go to YouTube. Same time, same bat channel, different bat channel, 7:30 p.m. on Friday on YouTube Live. Just subscribe to the PJTC YouTube page or channel, and you can watch our services that way. Check it out on Friday. Check it out on Saturday. Let us know what you think, because this is an experiment, and we want to get data back that will help us decide, okay, are these new things that we're trying working for people? Are there things that we're leaving out that people really miss or don't miss? And we'd like to know that too. So check those things out. Let us know how it works out for you. I will say one more important note. We know that on Saturday morning, Saturday morning is a 2.5-hour service. There are multiple seatings. Some people come in at 9:30. Some people come in at 10:30 for the Torah service. Some people come in around 11 for the sermon. Come at 9:30 because this Saturday service is going to be about 90 minutes long. It's not going to be the usual 2.5 hours. We are starting at 9:30, but we should be done right around 11. So if you're usually somebody who comes in at 11 so that it's only an hour, don't come at 11 because you'll just be catching us for Kiddush. If you just want to come for Kiddush, come at 11. That's cool. But check those out. Let us know what you think. And we hope that it actually helps you grow in your spiritual experience. That's why we're doing it. So until next time, friends. I just noticed a question from Britton S. I have a question. If someone can't get to Minyan, what parts of daily prayer should definitely be included and omitted? I know Amidah, yes. Kaddish, no. But that's it. So I'll speak to... let's say normal halachic times, right? My answer maybe a few months ago for those who want to do prayer, and I'm going to say this, and don't at me. You don't have to do it exactly the way everybody does it and has always done it. But if you want to say Jewish prayers according to traditional halacha, there are certain things you leave out when you don't have a minyan, however you are defining minyan at this point, which has become flexible as well. We usually leave out the Baruch Hu, which is that kind of call to prayer, and it's on page 107, I think, in our Siddur. We usually leave out the Baruch Hu. We go right into that first blessing of light, in the first blessing before the Shema. We just skip that line, the Baruch Hu. We don't say Kaddishes typically when we don't have a minyan. And for the Amidah, you can say the Amidah, but we don't do like a Hechi Kedusha or a repetition out loud of the Amidah. The Amidah would be completely kind of a private Amidah. And so those are the main things. Kedusha de Sidra is another thing that we don't do in our services, but other people do in their services. So the main things are, we don't do Kaddishes, we don't do Baruch Hu, and we don't do the beginning of the Amidah, or the Amidah out loud. But you can still pray your prayers. So let's see. Alexomatic99 says, "What's up, living legend? Nice to see you here." K Dixie says, "A rock that was very plain looking, but turned it over, and it was hand painted with the word inspire." Who knew, right? That inspiration was lying there the whole time. Natalie Serrata says, "Strangest place of truth. Various 2 to 3-year-olds when I was a preschool teacher. You can always count on 2 and 3-year-olds to tell you the truth. They don't sugarcoat anything. But if you sugarcoat anything, they'll be delighted." Let's see. Dorian Alexander says Winnie the Pooh. He's actually very, very wise. I do not disagree with you. So thanks for learning with me today. Really appreciate everybody who is here. And one last note. Next week, we're going to change up the schedule a little bit. Next week, we're only doing one of these Ask Me Anything sessions. We're going to do it on Thursday. So if you come on Tuesday, God bless you, I won't be here. But next Thursday at 3 p.m., back in the saddle, back answering whatever questions you have. Until next time, Pasadenans and heroes everywhere, have a, as Natalie says, have a happy and safe 4th of July, Shabbat Shalom, and peace.